They're a little more tricky because they kind of look like they're awake. And I don't know, unless they bump their toe into a bedpost or walk themselves into a ditch, they're not going to wake up. But you'll do one of two things, sleepwalker. You will either wake up or you will fall back asleep. It'll be one of the two. You've got a work to do. Wake up today. You're not real. Wake up and be real. Get about your Father's business. Don't look the part. Be the part. Unfortunately, I'm afraid that far too many of us fit into the last category. Do you ever set your alarm for a certain time in the morning, and that alarm goes off, and you're just not ready to get up? So what do? Hit the snooze button. Give me 10 more minutes. They're called snoozers. They have short periods of awake time, but they just can't keep their finger off the snooze button. The alarm will sound, a good sermon will wake them up, a good song will be sung, and they'll be like, what am I doing? I need to wake up. Perhaps a death or a near-death experience or a tragedy in the home, and they'll wake up. But then to God's dismay, they fall back asleep. When the devastation of 9/11 took place, people flocked to the churches. Church attendance rose sharply throughout the entire nation, not just here, but across the entire nation. Sadly, a large number of those people fell back asleep. A tragedy woke them up for a short period of time, but they went back to sleep. A snoozer knows full well what is required when he wakes up. That's why he keeps hitting that snooze button. Don't wake me up, he says. Just 10 more minutes. Just one more party. Just one more night on the town. One more TV show. One more hour on Facebook. What is lulling you to sleep? What is robbing you of your time? Don't you see it's a setup? All this stuff that is just coming into our lives, it's a new age, and it's a setup for us to be consumed with other things that have no godly influence at all, none. Just let me sleep a little longer. I don't want to work yet. Just let me be oblivious a little bit longer. I don't want to know how soon the second coming is, because it might convict me. I don't want to know about the lost and the hurting. I don't want to know how many souls may be lost, because I want to sleep a little bit longer. On December 20th, 1987, the Doña Paz disembarked from the Tacloban city, Leyte, for the Philippine capital of Manila. The sea was a little bit choppy, but the night was clear. As most of the passengers slept, the Doña Paz collided with the MT Vector, an oil tanker that was carrying 8,800 barrels of gasoline and other petroleum products. Upon the collision, the Vector's cargo ignited and caused a fire that spread onto the Doña Paz. Survivors recalled sensing the crash and the explosion, causing panic on the vessel. One of them, Paquito Osabel, recounted that the flames spread rapidly throughout the ship and that the sea itself was on fire. The lights on board went out, there were no life vests, and none of the crew was giving any orders. 26 survivors were pulled from the sea, Most of them were burned from the flaming water. The 2008 edition of the World Almanac records the estimated lives lost that day as 4,341. Given this death toll, the sinking of the Doña Paz has been called the world's worst peacetime sea tragedy, worse than the Titanic. You probably have never even heard of the Doña Paz. But here in my mind, this is what I read this week, is the worst part of this story. In the investigation conducted by the Philippine Coast Guard, the officers of the ship were either sleeping, drinking beer, or watching television. The captain of the ship was watching a movie on his Betamax. So 4,341 people lost their lives because the crew wasn't doing their job. Plain and simple. So why this message? Why on Mother's Day? Why, God, did you have to use me like this? Because what does a mother do in the morning as she wakes up her kids? Wake up. We are the crew. We are the crew. And that is the ship out there, this community. We have the life vest. We've got the light. We have the life-saving orders to give if we'll just wake up. Stop sleeping. You've got the goods. He said, watch and pray. And he has given you a work to do. He said, I give every man a work. When he said man, he wasn't just talking male, he was talking the human race. Wake up. You can do it. You've got what it takes. There is no one better for the job than you. You have God living in you to help you work, and he didn't leave us helpless. Will you stand this morning? Well, I've touched the hem of his garment, and I have felt the leading of your hand. But today, my eyes look much farther to see the face of the great I am. I've touched the hem of his garment, and I have felt the leading of his hand. But today, my eyes look much farther to see the face of the great I am. So more of you, Jesus, more of your face, more of your glory in this place. More of you, Jesus, more of your face, more of your glory in this place.
I've touched the hem of your garment,
I have felt
and I have felt the leading of your hand.